Hello everyone and welcome back to April's forecast. How are we liking the new background? I feel like it's too much. I feel like it's too busy. I don't know. Should I go back to my normal white one? Let me know what you think. So first off, I'm going to start with just a couple updates, announcements, things I want to say, and then we'll jump into the actual reading. If you don't want to hear any of those, just know you can always skip ahead using the chapters below. But welcome, especially to all of those new followers out there. I went on to Linda G's podcast last month, and you guys just swarmed me, and I am here for it. You guys really resonated with our episode. You ended up coming and booking a ton of readings, and I'm just like over the moon, so appreciative, so grateful to have you all here. Welcome to my corner of the internet. We've been doing this for a while. I basically start with an intuitive breakdown of the month, and then we jump into the astrological forecast. You could do both. You could do one or the other, whichever you feel more called to do. But that's going to be the rundown here. And I just want to say, for all of those of you who booked a reading with me, I know that some of you booked something that's really far out. I'm doing my best to sort of catch up on my orders, especially my emailed orders. So if you booked an email reading with me, just know that, you might actually get it much, much sooner than when you booked it. I'm going in order received whenever I have extra time on the weekends after my kiddos go to bed. I'm trying to catch up on those orders. So there's one, more availability for people so they don't have to wait until July as of right now. But, for those of you who have been waiting, I can get in and try to get your readings to you quickly. Just know, for those of you who are my regulars, I always have rush order readings you can request if you need to get in something quick. And another thing I'm doing to kind of mitigate this and allow people to get in is every single Monday morning around 11 a.m. Central, I am opening up calendar availability for that week and that week only if I have the time. I might not have the time that week and I might not be able to add it on. But if I do, you'll see it pop up that time every single Monday until I can kind of catch up on orders. Another announcement, I also have my Six Clairs mini course. It is done. It is available for replay. You can purchase it at any time. I will link it down below. It is just a replay of that course, that workshop. It's a great intro if you feel like you're wanting to learn about your psychic abilities, but you are just baby level and you don't know where to start. Lots of great introductory tips in there of how to start understanding your psychic abilities, how they work, how you receive, and then where to go from there. Events coming up this month, we've got Anna Hendricks, who I co-host the Soul Driven podcast with her, or I come in to co-host certain segments with her. She's coming in to do our guest workshop in the Society membership this month. She's going to be teaching us about connecting to the Akashic Records. So if that is something you are interested in, join at the membership level. Just know that there's also past guest workshops in there that you can go and access to. It's not just going to be hers, but she's coming April 14th. And then at the end of the month on Beltane, so this will be May 1st, so I don't know if I'll get our May forecast up before this. I wanted to share it now. We're going to be having our next free quarterly retreat. I do this every quarter on the Psychic Development Society at the free tier. It's like usually a 2 or 3 day retreat where I get on and just walk you through how to do something with your psychic abilities. This one is going to be themed more towards my Ireland trip because it's the last quarterly retreat before my Ireland trip. But we're going to be jumping into themes of Beltane. We're going to be talking about astral travel. We're also going to be doing like anchoring. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff that we're going to do. Even if you're not coming to Ireland, you are welcome to join. It will be free for everyone. All you have to do is be part of the Psychic Development Society and just keep an eye out for updates and announcements on that. And last but not least, I know you guys are probably so sick of me. Thank you, for all of you, for your patience. For those of you who are not coming, it's not for you. But my Ireland trip is very, very close to being closed out. We are kind of at the last month and a half before bookings close. So I'm going to be a little obnoxious about it. Bear with me. Thank you again for everyone who's been patient with me. I know that, if you're not coming, and I appreciate you guys letting me use this space to kind of, reach those who are interested, because we've got a great little group coming with us. But the trip closes May 12th. So you have to join one of three ways with a deposit. You can use Affirm if you are in the US. I would recommend doing that because you can literally join for $200 and pay for the trip well after the trip is even happening. Second way you can pay as well is just by paying Trova Trips deposit, which is 25%. So that's $800 down, and then you have to pay the rest, before the trip happens. Or third way to pay in full. You get a free reading with me. There's a ton of perks that come with the trip. You're not just paying for the trip, you're paying for a tour guide, you're paying for workshops with me, you're paying also for my basic psychic skills course. You're going to get an astrocartography reading with me, but more importantly, you're going to be visiting Ireland. You're going to be sitting in the energy of the land. We're going to be visiting so many amazing sacred sites, places of fae. We are going to be connecting to the Tuatha De Danann. We're going to be learning how to open up our intuition. No matter what level you are at, truly, I am just holding space so you can experience these lands in a spiritual way. So if you want to sit out on the circles, you totally can, but every single night we're going to be doing a spiritual circle where we kind of integrate, what we've been feeling and tuning into while we're there. I'm going to be giving ancestry meditations, anchoring meditations, and, as we're visiting castles and going on the Ring of Kerry tour and going to like a fae tomb, like we're going to be doing little mini things to help you open up your psychic abilities so you can not only connect to the land, but also to yourself, to your guides, and just have a really spiritual experience. And I think that us being there on the solar eclipse, I mean, it's just going to be like amazing reset energy. And I'm so, so excited for it. So if you're interested in it, please jump on, book now. And, you're going to also get 2 virtual retreats with this that kind of prepare you for the trip as well. But yeah, come have a pint of Guinness with me. Seriously. I am just so excited to meet so many of you. This is just like a once in a lifetime trip. I'm hoping I get to do this again, but it probably won't be in Ireland. We'll probably be going to other sites in the future. So I've heard from several of you like the timing doesn't work, but you really want to come on the next one. If that's the case, feel free to still throw your email on the Trova Trip list and you'll get notified about future bookings as well. So yeah, go ahead, join if you are interested. I feel like one of my travelers said like she was receiving all of these signs about Ireland, and so that's how she sort of knew that it was the right time and place for her. So if you've been feeling like you've been seeing signs around this, or there's a part of you that's been called towards it, I would jump in at the early bird price, because as soon as that early bird price is gone, it's going to increase in price. All right, let's get into our April forecast. So I always like to start by pulling an overall card. I'm debating if I want to do my Astro Dice first. I feel like I should do the Astro Dice first. We've got the North Node in Cancer in the 4th house. So again, this is not literal astrology. This is just kind of like reading it energetically. We'll do the literal astrology later. The North Node in Cancer, we're moving towards more of our purpose. We're moving towards more of which makes us uncomfortable, especially like emotionally, especially with Cancer, and maybe having to nurture things in our life, especially in the 4th house area, which is our literal home, our family, like those in our actual home under our roof. This could be, that we're being called to nurture and spend time with those in our actual home, or it could even be like parents and reconnecting with them and being pushed emotionally to kind of like connect with them, even if it feels difficult with the North Node. It feels uncomfortable. Again, it could be your partner, your children, but there's a push to do this, and it's the right thing to do, even though it might make you uncomfortable emotionally. So let's get into April. Okay. So first off, we've got the pink moon. Your tongue will illuminate the spaces within your thoughts that need evolving. Ooh, I love this. You know, I want to pull one more. Painted eggs. And I'm doing this because we've got Easter Ostara this month out of this deck. So we've got in the pursuit of your truth, you must master your own craft. Interesting. So there is this energy this month of like, we're trying to pursue something, we're trying to master our craft. Maybe we're going after a creative goal. And like, we're really understanding like the thoughts, the things we have to say about ourselves, about our craft, or about life, or about anything that comes up this month. We're gonna see where we need to evolve. It's almost like through speaking, through communication, through the affirmations that we do or don't say about ourselves, or about the situations that we're in, like self-limiting beliefs. It's like, you know, when you're walking around and you're talking to your friend and you're like, ugh, you know, I'm never gonna get better at this, and then you stop and you're like, oh my gosh, why am I saying that about myself right now? And it's like, those things will illuminate what needs to evolve in your life. So pay attention to your inner world this month. Pay attention to what you're saying about yourself, what you're saying about your life, because that's going to point you towards what needs to be changed and what can grow further. And I feel like that another piece of this is like, this is a skill in itself. Like, this is not like you're a bad person, or like that this is something you just can't change about yourself. Like, recorrecting your thoughts, recorrecting how you respond in situations is really like a legitimate skill. You have to retrain like your literal neural pathways to reprogram itself. Like, I think it's something like, you know, once you do or say something new 20 times in a row, then it actually is like set in stone in your mind. But it has to be like a very active, like, reset up until like it becomes a little bit more like involuntary. It has to be more voluntary first. And so like, I actually feel like this card is, you know, maybe for some of us it might be that we're, you know, pursuing our career, and this is just like a side message of like, hey, what are you saying about this career, what are you saying about yourself? But I actually think this is more in general about like, what are we saying about anything that comes up in April, and how can we make sure we're squashing those limiting beliefs? And the squashing of those limiting beliefs is an actual skill. There's an art to it. We can't, you know, solve it overnight. If we start with pattern interrupts and we stop, we pause, we witness, we say, why am I feeling this way? Is there a source to that? Maybe there is, maybe there's a story, maybe somebody said something to you, maybe you went through an experience and it's saying, you know what? No, my past doesn't define me anymore. Or, you know, sometimes obviously it's not that simple, but very much so not beating yourself up for having these limiting beliefs or thoughts, and using it as an opportunity to evolve, to grow, to master, kind of like master your mentality and your attitude towards yourself and your life. Yeah. And it's interesting too, because that's what we were also getting with the runes here. Because we have Fehu and Anzus, and Anzus is about mouth. It's about like speaking, speech. What do you need to say? What do you need to hear? Are communications happening clearly? So this is definitely like mirroring that. What's inspiring you? What's not inspiring you? I honestly feel like this is a whole separate message, but this is, did I say Fehu? Fehu, this is like the Elder Futhark, and it's like your personal property, your wealth, your possessions, like what you value. It could be also your skills and money. I guess that could make sense. I guess, you know, if we're thinking skills and craft over here, there is a little bit of that same message of like, what are you saying about your craft? Or how are you communicating your craft? You know, this could be a simple message of like, you know, are you selling yourself short? Are you even selling yourself at all? Are you overselling yourself? It's just being overall conscientious of the words we're using, what we're putting out there, and noticing how it affects our literal creativity, craft, job, career, or again, more broadly in our lives and in our relationships. It could just be about like, focusing on where am I catching or where am I caught up in maybe some self-limiting beliefs that are holding me back. I wanted to ask how this is showing up. Okay, we're getting 3 cards. And just so you know, if you like the cards that I use, I always list them down below. All right, these are my Greek gods and goddesses tarot. So this is Iris, Phoebe, Chiron, 8 of Coins, Queen of Cups, 10 of Wands. Yeah, and the eight of Pentacles or 8 of Coins, this is it's putting in the hard work and not always seeing the results. And so sometimes when we get into that space, we want to shit on ourselves and shit on our abilities and our skill, right? And we might need to recognize that we're just in that zone right now of we're still building and we might not be seeing the results, and or even if it's not that you're building, sometimes you're just in the middle of the mundane day to day to day to day to day, or even in your life, just you're in the mundane day to day to day to day, and it's like Groundhog Day every day. And so again, like, what are you saying about your life that's allowing this pattern to continue? But sometimes it is kind of like, it's okay to be here and be in this space. This is a normal part of the process. But is that kind of pushing you to see if it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy? Like, are you keeping yourself there? Because the Queen of Cups really asks us to do the inner work around our thoughts, our mentality. Like, what am I feeling about this? Am I actually mentally processing this? Am I being introspective? And the 10 of Wands is all about burnout, I mean, now I'm starting to wonder if this is more about like career. I mean, it might just be like one area of all of our lives that is just overly burdened. It's a little bit Groundhog Day. We need to do the inner work around it because we're saying things about it. We're creating a story about it that's keeping ourselves there, and knowing again that you can master the art of attitude, if that's like the words I want to use, especially about what you value and what you're putting out into the world. It will help. It manifests more of the same. So be aware of your thoughts, be aware of how it affects your behaviors, your actions, and ask yourself, like, at the end of the day, what is it that I want to manifest? If I don't want this thing anymore, what is the ideal? And what would future version of me that already has this thing in my life, whether it's a career or relationship, like, what would they be doing every day to get to that goal? What would they be doing in order to keep that amazing, dream alive? And I think this is where it's all central to the Queen of Cups, doing the inner work, introspective work. All right, I want to know what our biggest obstacle is this month. Flower Wand. What was once will no longer allow for what must come to be. It is time to let it go. Interesting. Love that. I mean, this makes so much sense. It's like when we're trying to manifest and bring in a new version of ourselves in our lives, and we're realizing that something might not quite be working, we're being pushed to emotionally get into a new place and examine what we're saying about this situation. We're going to realize that there's some things that need to be let go of, and sometimes it's the clinging on to that makes us not want to move forward and not want to do the work. So understand that sometimes the scariest part, but the most beneficial part, is letting go of the old, letting go of what's not working, even though you don't quite know what's going to replace it, what's going to fix it, but trusting that process, because you're going to make room for something better. And it could just be as simple as making room for better thoughts, or as something as big as like making room for a better relationship. Stop. Oh my God. I was going to say this. I didn't even know this was a card in here. So I just walked into my she shed out here. That's where I record my videos. Robins everywhere. And I was going to mention it sometime in this reading and I kind of forgot. And I was going to mention the animal spirit guide. I had literally just pulled out my animal spirit guide book because I was like, that's weird. Haven't seen robins. And there was like tons of them in my front yard and they were flying around in my backyard. Haven't seen them all year. And I was like, okay, there must be a message here. And then I pulled this card. What does it say? Spring into the presence of stillness, for there is much to rejoice in there. Ugh, love it. Being in stillness, being in introspection, it makes us uncomfortable. Focus. It makes us uncomfortable. We don't like to be here all the time, but we are being called to do it. Really quick, let me just read. I feel like I'm supposed to read. And if you see robins around, know that this is just a reminder of this message. Slow down, get still, meditate, go inwards, use your psychic abilities. This is my animal spirit guidebook, also linked down below in my Amazon storefront. So, Robin, it's time to let go of anything in your life that's outmoded and stagnant and plant the seeds for the new by setting your goals and intentions for the coming year. Amazing. I mean, we are in Aries season. It makes sense. Yeah, so there's this, it's like literally this combination of like when you can move past this obstacle, let go, sit in stillness, do this inner work. This month is going to be a lot easier. It's going to be a lot less intense because you're going to come back to center and be like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do right now with this energy. Cool, cool, cool. So I want to pull, I normally pull a card about our intuitive abilities. I don't know if this is going to work very well, but I wanted to give it a try. I just got a new deck from Tana. Tana is my business coach, my colleague. We usually use her other deck every single month, but in honor of her and wrapping up our 1 year together, we did a 1-year business mentorship. It literally ends tonight. Right after I'm done recording this, I wanted to get her deck. I don't know, honestly, if she sells this, but I got it. And I ordered it a while ago. It was on pre-order, but I wanted to use it. So this is more about like stepping into wealth, using your intuition as a psychic. So a little bit more targeted to people who are wanting to grow their psychic abilities, but also make it as a business. But I still want to use this deck and ask about our psychic abilities this month. Okay, and I pulled Inner Richness. Abundance starts from the inside. Inner richness is about recognizing the wealth of knowledge, skills, and talents you already possess. When you feel rich within, the outer abundance flows naturally. This card is a reminder to tap into that inner reservoir of strength, creativity, and wisdom. It's where all your external wealth begins. Ooh, I like this. I'm going to read this. For spiritual entrepreneur girlies, your inner wealth is what draws clients and success to you. Operate from a place of confidence in your skills and gifts and magnetize the right people and opportunities. Own your inner richness and the rest will follow. Ugh, I love that. It looks like she's wearing that. This surprisingly matches exactly what we're talking about with this 8 of Cups, the craft, the mastering your skill, and the thoughts creating your reality. No matter what this is, even if you're not a spiritual entrepreneur, this is sort of saying like, it has to start within. It's got to start with an abundance mindset in your mind. One of my favorite books on this is Lucky Bitch by Denise Dufil Thomas. That's kind of like a more money related one, but there's all sorts of resources out there for abundance mindset. And I feel like what's being called of us is like, no matter what area of life this is, like, let's even just switch it up to like, let's say it's a relationship that's really knocking you off kilter this month. And you're saying bad things about it. It's understanding and having this abundance of like, I'm going to have positive thoughts around this and I'm going to, manifest, I'm going to be appreciative and gratitude for all the things that are good in my life, for all of the relationships that are good in my life so that I can attract more of the same, It's, again, like I said earlier, it's living your life as if you already have it. So if you're struggling with money or if you're struggling with a relationship or your business and not knowing where you are, Imagine as if you already have it. Maybe you don't know what it is, but put yourself in the future. And we're going to practice this at the end of May with anchoring and astral travel and traveling into the future. But we are going to imagine future version of ourselves that already has it. Again, what is that future version of you doing, feeling, seeing? How are they acting, behaving? What is their day-to-day like? And a lot of that starts from a place of gratitude and recognizing what's already working well for you right now. So as much as you can, find that inner richness, find that inner abundance this month. And you might have to use your intuition to tap into this. You might feel a little bit disconnected from this, but when we sit and be still, when we're kind of doing this inner work and listening to our guides this month, our intuition is going to help us get better connected to that abundance when we feel like it's not here with the Eight of Pentacles. Like sometimes it just doesn't feel like it's here, but when we sit with it and when we tap into the abundance that is already there, we will feel it and therefore manifest more of it. And the last thing I like to ask every month is anything else we need to know, to work on, to practice. Okay, we need to learn something. We need to accept something. I love this. This is actually the same card we pulled last month, but it's different. It's a different deck, sorry. And so this is the Seven of Wands. And this is like standing your ground. It's standing up for yourself. This doesn't always have to be negative. And I think we have a hard time with this, like everyone does, because you either want to lean towards, fighting and hurting someone in the process of doing this, or leaning so far into not defending yourself that you don't stick up and set good boundaries. And so it might just be that you just need to sit down and learn, learn from therapist, learn from a book. Like this is not something that is without knowledge or help. I feel like the book that's popping in my head, it just came out. I think it's still on pre-order actually, is Dr. Nicole LaPera's new book. I think it's Heal Your Inner Child. I'll put it up, but I think that, I feel like for some reason that book answers this question. If anyone's like, yes, give me resources. Okay, and what do we need to accept this month? Seven of Cups. We are too overwhelmed. There's too much on our plate. More so emotionally, feeling emotionally overwhelmed. Too many choices. Again, that's why it's always okay to sit still, rest, go within, get rid of some of it. You don't have to hold on to all of it. Acknowledge and accept and validate what is coming through, what you are feeling, because some of it might just be that it needs to be heard and seen and processed before you can move forward. And it's also this question of what do you need to accept emotionally this month? So maybe there is a little bit of hiding from our emotions. So some of this I could even imagine with this, like, what are we saying? Maybe you're saying that everything is fine at hunky-dory. No, it's not a big problem, but actually there's a lot under the surface that you're not wanting to accept about your emotional state. And so when we accept that, hey, actually, I don't feel good about this. Hey, actually, I feel like this is pretty detrimental to me or my health, and I need to actually start speaking this. I need to start standing up for myself. Let me know if this resonates with you guys. I feel like this is a very personal reading for me, even though I did not set that intention, but it almost always works that way every month. So I just need reassurance that you guys resonate too. Although it is a group reading, so it might not apply specifically to everybody. But all right, let's go ahead and get into our Astro Forecast next. All right, everyone. April. April is a huge month of this year. It was February, it's April, and then the next is July. Overall this month, lots of crap happening in Aries. Get familiar with the Aries sector of your chart if you haven't already. Aries isn't always bad. Aries is dynamic, it's action, it's focused, but it can be very powerful. It can be very fiery. It can be very much like acting without thinking. You'll see in a minute why it's going to be intense this month, and you're probably going to feel it. But on the very first, today, as this came out, we are having a full moon in Libra. Full moon in Libra. Full moons are all about releasing, seeing what needs to be let go of, seeing what's in the process of being let go of. This one is actually a very positive one because it's in Libra. It's all about balance. It's also trining Jupiter in Cancer. So there's an element of repair, rebalancing here, especially, fixing a lot of the things that Mercury retrograde brought up. So overall, kind of a more positive full moon. Good one to set intentions around, especially in this house of your life or just in general. Because of the way it's applying to other planets, it's still going to also clear up some of the Mercury retrograde junk that was here, which I desperately need. Let's see. So if you are an Aries, this is in your 7th house, Taurus 6th, Gemini 5th, Cancer 4th, Leo 3rd, Virgo 2nd, Libra 1st, Scorpio 12, Sagittarius 11, Capricorn 10, Aquarius 9, and Pisces 8. And again, anything that you're just like, I need to let go of this, there's something no longer working around this area of my chart. Like for mine, it's in my 2nd house, which could be money, but it also could be what I value and finding more equilibrium in what I value. And when we think about it being related to Mercury in retrograde, that brought up a lot of stuff around my relationship. And so absolutely going to be rethinking, reevaluating, but hopefully in a good, more harmonious way. I'm only going to mention the little stuff. I'm not going to necessarily write it down unless I think it's super important. But little things like on April 3rd, because Venus is squaring Pluto, you're going to feel a little bit of tension, a little bit of power play in your relationships, maybe a little bit of paranoia. So try to just back off, pull off those days. Don't jump into anything without thinking first. You'll feel it kind of subside literally in a day or two. On the 5th, the Sun squares Jupiter. So and this is just a really positive day as well, positive aspect. Things won't feel as dire as much. You'll get a little bit of relief from that Pluto-Venus square. But then on April 9th, you're going to feel a pretty big vibe shift. And that's because Mars is going to ingress or move into Aries. So he's been in Pisces. Now he's moving into Aries. And so it's almost like on the 9th, it's like totally different energy. Because we call it like a sign-based conjunction. It's moving into the same sign as, some of the other planets here, like the other malefic, which is Saturn. And later they're going to conjoin and do some annoying things in this month. But even just Mars moving into that sign can kind of activate that later on, is all I'm saying. So you're going to start to feel the effects of some of this already on the 9th. And I mean, Mars loves being in Aries. It's speed, it's moving forward, it's putting the gas on, like action, fiery, passion, powerful, all of this. And this is when we start to feel the intensity of all the planets piling up in Aries, and it'll unfortunately just get more intense. But you're going to feel that heaviness in this sector of your chart starting to set in. So again, you'll get familiar with this part of your chart this month. So this is my 8th house, which can be other people's money, but I'm also starting to feel like it's a lot of those real deep emotions of the 8th house. Yeah, it's deep emotions, personal transformations. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. And sorry, if you are following me for the first time, I use whole sign houses. I'm reading everything based on your rising sign as well. So I'm a Virgo rising. You apply it to your rising sign. And then we move to the 12th, and this is probably one of our couple really hard moments of the month, and that is we've got Mars conjunct Neptune. And you'll really be feeling this even a couple days ahead of time from like the 8th, and then a few days after it, probably around the 17th. Like Mars, think acts of war, violence, pushing, Neptune, illusion, deception, confusion. And so they're both right next to each other. You blend those two things together with a conjunction. And so this is like being in the fog of war. You're confused. It can be like military snafus, hitting the wrong target, misunderstanding in your personal life. What someone said, like they attacked me, they said something bad, I'm gonna lash out. But you don't have a full clear picture of what's happening. So again, be very careful about what you say and do around this time. There's high tension without a full picture of what's going on, because that's the Neptune, the illusory part of it. It can also be like religious warrior, Neptune like religion, Mars warrior. There is kind of this aspect of a bubble popping in your life as well, because it is kind of like Mars is coming in, and Saturn and Neptune, as we've talked about the last couple months, these are still really close together. They're still within, like it's still like 4 or 5 degrees of each other, I believe. Still pretty darn close to feel the effects. I mean, we're going to be feeling the effects literally until Saturn leaves Aries. But yeah, so I'll just be paying attention to what's going on mundanely, what's going on in the world at this time. It did coincide with some stuff happening in Jamaica, the Port of Royale town. There was like a big fire there, and I guess the Ronin 47 assassination. And again, I do not claim these as my own predictions. I watch other people who predict, other astrologers, and I just try to condense it down and make it make sense for you guys, because I know that some of you don't want to watch, 5-hour Astro podcast for the month ahead. So just, okay. And then between the 13th and 14th, we have, I think it's the 13th. And I am going to write this one down. This one is Venus sextiling Jupiter. Sextile is a really good aspect. Venus and Jupiter are both of our benefics, and it's probably the most positive thing happening this month. And it's kind of happening in the sector of your chart that Venus in Taurus is in. And like for some reason, Venus is kind of like this whole month, just as like an aside, Venus is in Taurus just doing some awesome, lovely things. So it's almost like there's something over here in your Taurus area of your chart that's unrelated, that's really working out beautifully. It's working out so well. It's just this pocket of like everything that's kind of doing great. And it's also because Uranus is here really wrapping up its time in Taurus, is letting you know too what this whole last 7 years of Uranus and Taurus has been for you. So it might be good to also pay attention to what happens around that, especially if you weren't paying attention to like when Uranus first moved into Taurus for you. It might give you some good clues as to what it's been doing. So yeah, let me know what house this is in for you. This is my 9th house, which is like my philosophy. It's where I teach and what I do, and I think of my astrology, teaching you all. It's also travel. For some reason, it keeps lining up with my Ireland trip, so I'm hoping that this means we get confirmed this month. Beautiful. Okay, and then on the 14th, Mercury moves into Aries. Look at this nonsense. And so by the 15th, it's like the energy that we're in is everything is affecting everything in the Aries sector of your chart. It's like, it's not a bunch of separate things going on in your life. It's all of this craziness in one area of your life, just kind of like touching each other, spilling over on each other. Very, very heavy Aries energy. Because, essentially what we got is we've got Mars, Saturn, Neptune, Mercury, all in Aries right here, and the sun. And what'll be cool about this is you'll be able to see this at night, I guess, or in the morning when you wake up, if you go outside and look up. This is reactivating, again, like I said, the Saturn-Neptune conjunction for us all. It's not going to be good for Iran. We're going to see this actually come up again in November, not this exact, formation, but an activation of this story. So that's why I'm going to be paying attention to what happens in Iran. And a lot of astrologers are guessing that we're going to have a lot of like trade issues, money collapse. Everything is all of a sudden restricted. You might have heard some astrologers talk about how this looks very similar to COVID, but at the same time it's different. The COVID transits were very much like stop, don't move. But what's going on here is like, and I'm jumping ahead of myself here with Mars conjunct Saturn, and Mars and Saturn together is like pressing on the gas, pressing on the brakes at the exact same time. So you're going, but you're not going. I'll come back to that when we get to the 19th, but we're starting to feel that energy as soon as Mercury moves in here, because they're all just piling up on top of each other, activating each other. And then we get to basically the 17th. Again, this is building. Building. On the 17th, we have our new moon in, you guessed it, Aries. So now we got the moon over here too. So we got this stellium in Aries, which is also ruled by Mars. It imprints all of this energy into the next whole month, because that's kind of how it works. It's aggressive, it's deceptive, communication, it's confusing. It's not nearly as fun as our full moon earlier. Everything's moving, everything's crazy. Crap's hitting the fan. Again, please, I would love to hear if you're willing to share how this plays out for you around this time. Just because I love hearing how it affects other houses. I get really familiar with what's going on in my house, but I'm so curious, if this is your 5th house or your 8th house or your 10th house. I'm so interested to hear, and I love whenever you guys come back and share. Truly, it helps me to learn, is what I always say. So we've got that new moon, and then kind of the peak of all of this Aries craziness happens on the 19th, and that is that Mars is conjunct Saturn. And so again, Mars, Saturn sitting right on top of each other. That's pressing the gas, pressing the brakes. It's like we're slowing down to a screeching halt. Again, similar to what COVID did, but it's happening in Aries, so we're not going to be stopped in the same way. I don't think it's not going to be like everybody's got to go home and is restricted. I wonder if it's going to be something more with the money, and this is more intuitive, less astrological. I was almost wondering if there was going to be the equivalent of martial law or something, but I could be totally off on that. That was intuition, but again, this is not going to look good for Iran and the US and Israel and everything that's going on there. This can also be like a conjunction that coincides with disasters, illness. And in your personal life, it's kind of that feeling of wanting to move forward but being held back, or you're wanting to hold back and wait, but you're being pushed forward. Oh yeah, and the reason why I was thinking maybe some sort of martial law or something was because with Neptune being in Aries, that has ties to conscription in the past, so it just made me immediately think of that, and I've always thought Orange Brosif was gonna do that at some point or another. And just know that you'll kind of feel a lessening of this. It'll still be pretty intense even by the 23rd, but it'll feel a little less intense by then. And then into May, early May, May 4th, I think it's pretty well gone. We've got a new set of problems then, but and then mid-May, the Mars conjunct Saturn won't be as intense. Oh, and also on this day, the Sun, just shortly after, the Sun moves into Taurus. So now we are in Taurus season. Okay, I won't write this down, but then on the 23rd, we have Venus conjunct Uranus. So again, that energy that I was talking about before, it's kind of like, again, wrapping up this really sweet, awesome energy of what Uranus has been doing in Taurus. And it's going to really show up relationally because of Venus, like it's going to show up in your relationships. So that's another positive day. Again, Venus is over here still doing this whole month, which is great. And it's like something that's unexpected. It comes out of blue, new relationship, new connection, something of that sort. And then I'm going to pause there because it's almost time for me to go into a meeting. I'm going to come back and finish recording the rest, which I really only have one more thing, but it is one huge thing. Oh, and I totally forgot to give you guys the lunation for the Aries new moon. So I will also come back and do that. All right, I am back. Let's get into the new moon for each rising sign. Oh, this one's pretty easy. So if you are an Aries, you are having this moon in your first house. Taurus, 12th house, Gemini, 11th, Cancer, 10th, Leo, 9, Virgo, 8, Libra, 7, Scorpio, 6, Sagittarius, 5, Capricorn, 4, Aquarius, 3, and Pisces, 2. Okay, and then on the 23rd, we have Venus moving into Gemini. And so right after Venus makes that conjunction with Uranus, it's going to move into Gemini. And then not even 2 days later, we're getting just this major outer planet move. And that's on the 25th. We've got Uranus moving into Gemini. So Uranus will up into Gemini, just like that too, energetically, doing crazy, unexpected things. And now we have all 4 of our major outer planets that have been doing this back and forth dance over the last year in completely new signs. We are in a completely new chapter. So if you haven't been following me and you're new to this, you would have gotten a preview of this last July 7th through like November 7th. So if you took notes, if you know what was going on in your life, that is what's occurring now. And Uranus is going to be staying here until 2033. Uranus is liberation, is freedom. It likes doing things differently. It likes doing things unexpectedly. It's rebellion. It's an air sign. Uranus shakes up. It disrupts. The last time Uranus was in Gemini, let me just show you this beautiful, fun little graph. We have the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, and kind of like the back half of World War II and the Cold War. And this is more specifically Uranus and Gemini in the US. If you are not in the US, this doesn't quite apply to you. I mean, it probably will affect you. But Uranus moving into Gemini has never looked good for the US. And so this is why so many of you asked me in my videos why I'm predicting that it's going to take 7 years for us to deal with whatever is on the horizon politically. And that is because it takes Uranus 7 years to go through Gemini. And then usually once it hits Cancer, no, always when it hits Cancer, that's when things get cleaned up. That's when things got cleaned up after World War I, Civil War, or sorry, not World War I, Civil War, Revolutionary War, and post-Cold War. Uranus also governs transportation, language. There's going to be a lot of crazy, unexpected changes there. I'm thinking robots, I'm thinking drones, I'm thinking self-driving cars. You know, by the end of this transit, we are going to be in a completely different world. Also because whenever Uranus is in Gemini, it creates such a quick evolution of technology. Also, warfare. Whenever you look back at the Uranus and Gemini transits, the warfare that was there when, you know, this transit started versus where it was at the end, it was like almost in a different world because how quickly and rapidly things would update and change and evolve. In our personal lives, this is just bringing us unexpected changes into this house, into this sector of our life, for the next 7 years. It's not always bad. Yes, Uranus can be disruptive, but it can also liberate us. It can bring us more freedom. It can help us get from A to Z with like a whole different angle. You might realize, oh my gosh, there's a completely different way for me to do this that I didn't even think about before. Often when Uranus hits Gemini, the individual, the people, get prioritized over government. So I think, we're definitely going to see that as well. We are just in a very huge, huge chapter in world history, in U.S. history. Also, not just because of Uranus and Gemini, but because Saturn and Neptune are in Aries. And that has coincided with war in the past. Pluto and Aquarius. Unfortunately, all 4 of these planets in these signs definitely point to civil war within the U.S. I don't know what kind of civil war that looks like. It might not be the civil war we thought of in the past, but it's going to be some form of that, and likely some sort of world war where everyone is engaging with everyone else. I'm not going to predict how long it's going to last and who we're going to be fighting with. I'm going to do that over on my podcast, the Practical Psychic Podcast. I also do that with Anna Hendricks over on her podcast, the Soul Driven Podcast, where we do segments on soul politics. This is not something to be afraid of in your personal life, though, because Uranus in Gemini is bringing new, exciting, disruptive things into this house. This is happening in my 10th house of career. You guys will probably see this because this is at the very top of my chart. It's where I'm most visible, where I'm most recognized. I have no idea if it means I'm just going to be like, never mind, I'm going to go work a corporate job, or maybe it's that my job just, like my current job takes off. I don't know. Whatever it is, I can't predict it. You can't predict it because it's unexpected. And one thing I want you to do this month is, as these final days of Uranus is in Taurus, take notes, pay attention, reflect on Uranus and Taurus. Look back at dates, look back and see, in general, in this sector of your life, what was happening. It will help us understand what this part of our chart is. So when other planets come, or when other planets aspect it, or activate this area of your chart, you kind of know-ish, what that looks like for you. And especially on this day, around this day, give or take a couple days after, pay attention to what happens, take notes. Because the day that a planet, I always say this, the day that it ingresses into another sign, it's like an exclamation mark on that planet in that house for you. So you're going to pay attention to what it's doing for you, but we're also going to pay attention to what's going on in the world because that's indicative of the whole. I'm going to be tracking all of that stuff in my podcast so you don't have to, but yeah, unfortunately, global stuff is going to heat up. It's probably going to be, I don't know if war is going to start on this day or if something happens and then war starts. Honestly, I haven't had much time to look into it because my personal life is kind of falling apart and I'm just trying to hang on right now. But just know that once Uranus moves into Taurus, even though there might be crazy stuff happening in the world, your life, there's going to be an ease in your individual circumstances. I won't say that as a blanket statement for everyone because everyone's chart is different, but this isn't going to be just because craziness is happening in the world, it's going to happen in your life. It's just activating those world charts and mundane stuff, but your life is always going to look different because you have a much different individual chart. You live in different places. It's just, it's not like everything is going to be a crap show. So once we get into early, the third part of May, the first third, we're going to have a lot of easing of this, especially as some of these planets start moving out of Aries. And one other thing I want to say is that it's really interesting because Uranus and Venus are basically conjunct. So again, if you remember ingresses and how this works, when a planet moves into the sign, think of it as a picture. Somebody takes a picture and that's the whole entire snapshot for that planet's transit in that sign. So that looks like 7 years for 7 years for Uranus in Gemini. And because Venus is right there, almost conjunct, I'm pretty sure, Uranus, is like, it's pretty close, you know, that gets imprinted on the next 7 years. It's like not just Uranus on its own, it's a kind of a Venus-y flavor Uranus. So that'll be an interesting thing to see and play out, because I feel like that means, I mean, Venus is a benefic, it's a good planet. Maybe it will bring, I don't know, like immediate thoughts, like female, feminine energy, maybe some of that flavor to it, more prioritization, but also disruption in relationships. I don't know. We'll see what that looks like. I mean, I'm probably heavily underplaying how how big like the middle to the end of April is going to be. We're going to be like, this is like history book making, you guys. And so if you're new to me, I would say, you know, I've always said in my past podcasts, like, I truly believe that our souls came here at this time for a reason. And so this question, this inner work this month is like, what am I here to do? You know, how do I want to be a part of this? Like, am I like, I need to get out, I need to get to safety, I need to fight, I need to throw my money at good causes, like whatever it looks like. There's so many ways to advocate, to stand up, to be an activist. It doesn't always look like being on the front lines. But what I'm trying to say is, like, this is happening. These next 7 years are happening no matter what. Resisting it is not going to help, but accepting it will help. And then feeling out, okay, what part am I playing within this, will be a much better productive use of your time. So I don't know, you guys. I'm kind of excited to live through this moment with you, especially because I know it will have an end date. I know it has an end date. I know the dates that it's going to be the most intense, and I'm going to keep you updated on that every single month on my YouTube channel, and we're going to get through it together. Again, don't let this stop you from living your personal life. The world can be on fire, and you can still be pursuing your dreams, you know? And for those of you who are my spiritual entrepreneurs out there, I did make a podcast on where I think the psychic industry is headed. And I speak a little bit to these themes, as well as AI and things I'm seeing on the horizon. So that might be a good one to listen to. But yeah, y'all, this is April. This is a big, big historic month, huge month. And it really sets the tone for the next 7 years and what this energy is going to look like. And again, I'll just reiterate this, like, Gemini will be here for 7 years. We're going to get a little bit of an ease when Saturn finally moves out of Aries and into Taurus in about 2.5 years. That'll make it a little less intense. That's why the most volatile is basically starting kind of this between April and July, and it'll go for pretty much like 2.5, 3 solid years. And then, I mean, Neptune's going to be here for 11 years, but Neptune is not bad. What's negative about it is when it's with Saturn. When Uranus moves out of Gemini, we'll definitely be in the clear. Pluto will be in Aquarius for a long time, and I actually think it'll bring some really good things. But with the other planets where they are right now, it's going to bring a lot of like not so good tech things that we're going to have to clean up later. If I'm not being if I'm being confusing on any of this, feel free to ask me questions. I think the thing is I repeat it so much every single month that I'm assuming people are following along, but I'm sure every single time people are here, there's new folks who are like, what the hell is going on? So feel free to ask questions. Also know that I also do astrology readings. I do birth charts. I also do astrocartography, which is moving and locating to a new place. I think this month I'm actually going to be signing up for a really in-depth astrology course. I really want to do that and really get certified, just so I feel more confident. But I've been teaching and learning about this for the last 5 years, and soaking it up like a sponge from various books, various teachers, podcast videos. And I feel like I need the credibility of a diploma behind me, you know what I mean? Also, I'm still planning on doing an eclipse podcast follow-up of the last eclipses that happened in end of February, early March. So keep an eye out for that as well. Feel free to come back at any time. Let me know what's going on, how this is playing out for you. I'm so interested to hear. Thank you all for being here. And yeah, I'm excited to get to uploading more videos for you all. Alrighty, bye.